There's one specific attitude, something few men know, that can completely change the way a woman sees you. And it's exactly this attitude that separates the guy she merely tolerates from the one she chases. Yes, she's just pretending to like you until she meets a man who does this. If you want to stop being the backup option and take control of the game, watch this video until the very last second. Have you ever met a woman who seemed super into you, but it never went beyond that? She replies to your messages, compliments you now and then, even accepts a date or two. But whenever you try to take it further, she always finds a way to dodge it. That kind of woman isn't in love. She's just bored. And guess what? You've become her emotional entertainment. Meanwhile, the guy who actually sparks her desire is somewhere else. It's hard to hear, but many women keep a quasi-relationship with men who aren't their first choice. You're kind, attentive, present, but you don't activate her deeper instincts. She keeps you around as plan B in case plan A doesn't work out. You're the guy she turns to when she's lonely, frustrated, or just needs to feel validated. And even though she knows she's not going to choose you, she loves the attention. This behavior isn't always conscious. Sometimes even she doesn't realize how much she's using you as an emotional crutch. But the pattern is clear. When a woman is truly interested, she shows it. She invests time and energy and makes space in her life for you. If she's always busy, full of excuses, and only shows up when she needs to vent, sorry, she's not in love. She's just comfortable. Now stop and think. Are you in a position of desire or convenience? This is where many men go wrong. They confuse presence with interest and affection with intention. You need to watch for the signs. Does she talk about the future? Does she show curiosity about your life? Or does she only show up when the other guy disappears? If that's the case, you're in a losing game. And the worst part? She'll only fully discard you when she finds that one guy who makes her feel what you don't. Intensity. Every halfway smart woman will test a man, not out of malice, but instinct. She wants to know if you're emotionally strong or just another insecure guy pretending to be nice. Sometimes she'll ignore you for an entire day, change her tone out of nowhere, or even stir up a little tension in a conversation. The goal? To see if you lose your balance. If you flinch, she loses respect. These tests are never spoken out loud, which is why so many men don't realize they're being evaluated all the time. The way you respond to frustration, rejection, or even her silence reveals more than your words ever could. When you react with anxiety, over-explain yourself, or beg for attention, you send a clear message: I'm fragile. And that's a label that kills any genuine attraction. You know that guy she met at work who doesn't flinch at her little games? Who stays calm, steady, unbothered, and emotionally independent? She tests him too. But when he doesn't play along, she feels something different. She realizes he's an emotional challenge, and that activates a side of her that connects with true masculinity. Not the perfect guy, but the one who shows up with presence and confidence, the kind she can't control. Now tell me, have you ever felt like things were going well with a woman, but suddenly she turned cold, distant, weird, and you had no idea why? Drop a comment below and tell me what happened. I want to know which test you think you failed. Well-meaning men often fall into this trap without even realizing it. They believe that being as polite, helpful, and available as possible will spark attraction. But in reality, the opposite happens. She starts seeing you as an emotional extension. Someone nice to talk to, but who triggers zero desire, and before you know it, you've become her life coach, while she falls for someone else. There's a fine line between being kind and being passive. When you avoid any sign of boldness, never take initiative, and constantly adapt to her needs, you fade into the background. And women don't connect with what's neutral. They connect with what's intense, bold, and present. The nice guy friend doesn't stir anything up, doesn't challenge her, doesn't stand his ground. And that's why he's never remembered as a man. Want a clear example? She ends the day exhausted and calls you to vent. You listen, comfort her, give advice. Grateful, she tells you you're amazing. But a few days later, she's on a trip with another guy she barely knows. You feel like something's off but can't put your finger on it. I'll explain. You offered comfort, the other guy offered emotion. And her body responds to emotion, not logic. The worst part? When you finally try to change your tone and show interest, she hits you with the classic, "Oh, but I see you as a brother." And that stings, because you never wanted to be her brother, you just didn't know how to be seen as a man. But now you do. Being overly accommodating is a direct route to the neutral zone, and no one feels desire for something neutral. As much as modern narratives claim that women want sensitive, always available guys who say yes to everything, the truth behind female desire is very different. What she really wants is a man who is grounded, who has direction, and who doesn't bend to every opinion, including hers. Not because she wants to be challenged, but because that makes her feel safe around someone with a strong sense of self. Women are drawn to men who live with purpose, and this has nothing to do with fame or money. It's about that look in his eyes that says he knows exactly where he's going, that he's not looking for validation, and that his life flows with or without her in it. That kind of energy isn't taught, but it can be developed. And when you learn to cultivate it, everything around you shifts, especially the way she sees you. She'll never look you in the eye and say, "I want a man who challenges me sometimes, who says no with confidence, who doesn't change who he is just to please me." But that's exactly the kind of presence that keeps desire alive, because it's not about control. It's about emotional leadership. The man who embodies this isn't domineering, but he is undeniably magnetic. You can tell when she meets a man like that. Her tone changes, she gets closer, finds reasons to be around, she respects him, and desire begins with respect. If she's still treating you as a second option, you can bet she doesn't see you as someone who has that inner strength. And until that changes, nothing changes. There's a specific moment when a woman's perception of a man completely shifts. It's subtle, almost imperceptible, but it's real. It happens when she feels that by your side she can relax. Not because you flatter her, but because your presence is both calming and intriguing. That's the famous emotional click. And it doesn't come from pretty words, but from actions that align with who you truly are. What triggers that click is your ability to stay emotionally steady even in uncomfortable situations. When you keep your cool during conflict, when you listen more than you react, when you choose to act with intention rather than impulse, she notices, not rationally, but physically. And that's when everything changes. You go from being just another guy to someone she wants close, someone she respects and desires. That's the point when she starts chasing you, not because you played some trick, but because you showed emotional maturity, something rare and valuable. She feels that you're grounded, that your well-being doesn't depend on her mood, that you don't get shaken by every little instability. And for a woman, that's like finding safe harbor, not in the sense of comfort, but of trust. Most men never trigger that click because they're too busy trying to force a connection. But when you stop trying to control her reaction and start controlling your own energy, she feels it. And that's when she gets involved. Not with what you offer, but with what you radiate. Energy doesn't lie. And when she feels yours, authentic, grounded, calm, the game changes. There's a specific type of man who leaves a lasting impression. He doesn't talk much about himself. He's not constantly trying to prove anything. But when he walks into a room, people notice. The difference lies in how he carries himself. He prioritizes himself. He doesn't chase, but he doesn't hide either. He knows his value doesn't depend on anyone's approval, and that's what makes him magnetic. This man doesn't ask for permission to be who he is. He takes the lead naturally. If he suggests something, he does it with clarity. If he says no, it's with conviction. He doesn't need to force anything. He just acts with confidence. And contrary to what many believe, that doesn't push women away. On the contrary, it creates a kind of healthy tension that draws them in. Because he's not there to please. He's there to share the life he's already living with purpose. He doesn't overreact or show desperation for attention. He lives a solid routine. He takes care of his body, his mind, his finances, and his relationships. And that's what makes him rare. Not because he disappears, but because he has a life worth living. When a woman realizes she's a complement and not the center of your existence, she feels internally challenged to become part of that world. No promises, Just the feeling of being with someone rare. The "this" in the title is simple. He is whole. And someone who is whole never begs for halves. Women sense this without needing an explanation. They feel it when they're in front of a man who doesn't bend, who doesn't break himself into pieces to please, who doesn't hide behind masks. And when they find that kind of man, they don't want to lose him because they know how rare that is. Many men spiral when a woman disappears without explanation. They get stuck in doubt, trying to figure out what they did wrong. But what most don't realize is that sometimes her leaving is a blessing. When a woman walks away without giving you a chance to talk or explain, it's because she was never really invested. She was only there while it was convenient. And that's not about you, it's about her. You don't need someone who sticks around when things are easy, but vanishes when life calls for maturity. A woman with clear intentions and respect doesn't ghost. She communicates. She ends things with dignity. When she just disappears, she reveals the level of consideration she had for you, or rather the lack of it. And as painful as it is, it shows you exactly who she is. Her absence creates space for your presence to grow, for you to look at things more clearly and realize that what you were feeling was, more often than not, a projection. You wanted her to be someone she never was. And now that she's out of the picture, you have the chance to raise your standards, heal your emotional wounds, and focus on those who truly see you as a priority. Because a man who values himself doesn't beg for attention. He chooses. He filters. So next time a woman disappears, don't chase. Redirect your energy. Use it as fuel to get stronger, grow, and become even more selective. The right woman won't leave you in doubt, and the wrong one will eliminate herself. If this content helped you, subscribe to the channel now, because there's a new video every day to help you become a more confident, authentic, and desirable man. And now, click on the next video that's popping up on your screen.